Hey everybody, welcome back to Gooseberry Homestead. So today I wanted to show you guys some of the things I've done this week in the garden. And so along the side of the house here, I had a whole lot of creeping buttercup that was invading this section along the side of the house. Now when we first moved into this rental, this whole area was nothing but creeping buttercups all the way up against the house, and it was pretty well invaded. Now creeping buttercup is poisonous to rats and mice. However, it really only created a really nice hiding area for the rats and mice, to be completely honest. It didn't keep them from not wanting to be in the area, they just didn't want to eat the stuff. So it really created a nice area for also snakes to hide and the rats and that sort of thing. And I really didn't like mowing right up next to the house either. So now I've got the line all the way down along the side here. Well, I got that all weeded, and the reason why I didn't have to weed quite as much is because about 2 years ago approximately, I think it's been about 2 years almost now. It might be like a year and a half, I'm not sure. But what I did was I put down a whole bunch of cardboard, and then I used some of the rock from this area under the patio, by the patio here, some of the rock that the previous landlord had put down here, because these little rocks are so sharp that they actually hurt your feet to walk on to get across to the grass, especially if you like to go barefoot like myself. And so I just removed some of the rocks, but these rocks also really suck because they stick into your shoes because they're so sharp, and then they get trapped into the house, and the rocks can actually ruin the finishes of the floors and that sort of thing. So they're really not an ideal stone to be putting down next to a house. I don't know what on earth they were thinking. Maybe it was really cheap and that's why they put it down, but yeah, they were really dumb to do this. But anyways, I moved a bunch of it, and I put it all up here along the side of the house to kind of act as kind of like a weed barrier, but it only worked to a certain degree. And last year I had weeded all the way about this section of this area where some of the crabgrass had grown in, and some of the creeping thyme had come up along the edges really of the of this area. And so this whole back section from this part on was really full of the creeping buttercups. And so I finally spent some time just the other day, earlier this week, to just really just weed that section, and I got all the weeds pulled out, and I used my little weed tool that it looks like a rod that has like a little fork at the end, a two-pronged fork, and I used that, and those have been around forever. You can find them pretty much in any garden center across the United States, and so I used that one, and it really worked really well. And because I had the rocks in there, it really made it a lot easier because I was able to get to the roots a lot quicker, and only a few of them were really rooted in pretty strong. The dog next door is going crazy because there's a deer that was right next to our fence line out here, and it's going back behind things, but the deer's realizing the dog can't get to it, and so it's not running off now, only if it's right up next to the house. And then the deer is back up in here eating some of the trees, but it was literally right by this giant tree a few minutes ago. So anyways, back to the other thing. So I spent time this week, and I got it all weeded, and it looks all super nice. Now I still need to clean up this area. I would like to have this section cleared off here, but I got rid of all the pumpkins that were up here except for these two smaller ones, which I'm going to cut open and save some of the seeds. But yes, some of the seeds had begun to grow out of some of the pumpkins, inside of the pumpkins that were just sitting there. So I saved as many of the seeds as I could, except for the one pumpkin that had the seeds growing in it. I decided that the seeds might have already started developing in some of the seeds and that would make them inviable if I'm storing them now. So I went ahead and just planted a whole bunch and threw away the rest to the forest so that the animals in the forest could eat them, and I think they're appreciating them. So that's what I did. And then I took off all the bottoms to my purple pots, and I drilled holes into the big green pots to add extra drainage, because these little saucers at the bottom of them hold the water in, and it actually makes the plants too soggy, and that can cause root rot. So I went ahead and I removed all those because I noticed my apricot tree, I think that's why the limbs were wilting, is I think that the water was just setting in there and becoming stagnant. And so I think some root rot was happening. So hopefully it'll like bounce back and it'll be okay with what I have left on it, because I had to do some pruning because a lot of things died. So those apricots are not doing so hot. So anyways, so that's what I did the other day as well, is I removed all of these off of the purple pots, every single last purple pot, including the one that I'm not using at the moment. And that now there's like a whole bunch of drain holes at the bottom of the purple pots, and they still sit up really nice, so that's okay. It's not affecting them not having them on there. I'll just have to make sure that they do get watered a little bit more regularly now, because the water won't be able to pull in there and it'll be able to drain freely. So we'll just keep an eye on them. It's not a big deal. But now I know that at least my apricots and stuff will be draining a little bit more efficiently. So that's good. Now, that's one of the things I did. I also, as you can see right here, I have also moved a whole bunch of my container pots over here. I moved even the tomato plants that I got at the store up here. Now the tomato plants were pretty darn established when I got them from the store, and I don't want to cut the tomato cages off of them. They're right here. I had them in that back corner, but I was noticing that they were drying out quite quickly in that back corner because they're not in the ground, and that's huge. You guys, when you are growing things in containers can dry out a lot faster than the actual ground. So because these were pretty established and already had set fruit on them before I bought them, and they're an okay size, I decided to go ahead and leave them in the containers. I trimmed off some of the lower branches for the most part, and just did what I could with the plant. And I'm not sure if this one was it's got two limbs coming from the bottom section, so I'm not quite sure how they pruned this one in the store, but it has fruit, and both of the tomato plants have fruit. So since these pots dry out pretty darn quick, I'm leaving them up by the house. That way I can keep a better eye on them, and I can give them water as they need it. So now I'm just waiting for them to hopefully get a little bit taller. This one over on this side hasn't really grown since I've gotten it, so I'm wondering if it tends to be a little bit more on the smaller side. One is a Roma tomato and the other one's a Bonnie slicer, and I don't know exactly what variety of slicing tomato it is, but we'll just watch it and see. They may have pruned a top limb off of this one that caused it not to continue growing in height. So they might have done something, I'm not sure, to the plant at some stage, but it is coming up from two branches right near the base. So I'm not exactly sure. But that, I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to be pruning anything on it other than just the lower areas. So yeah. So that's how it's all looking. I also moved the planters up along the house because I just felt weird when I would water, because I was always facing into my neighbor's house. So to give myself privacy and to give them privacy, I decided to move them up over here so that I'm not looking directly at their house when I'm watering. And one, it makes me not feel weird, and two, it might help them not to think that I'm like looking at them when I'm not actually looking at them. So I just figured this is a much better setup. Everything's pretty close right here where I can keep an eye on it a lot better. And since these are such small trees, it's okay for them to be this close together because they are in container pots. And so and there is plenty of airflow around them at this point because of their size, so it all works. I did move my little fig tree over here, and it's inside of a pot, inside of the purple pot, because I haven't decided if I'm going to put it into one of the purple pots yet, but I have a feeling I might. So I'm just setting it there for now. And when winter comes, I'll probably this winter I will probably line them up, you guys, around the side of the patio area. And I'm always forever having to clean up this area, but I'm thinking that's probably what I will be doing this year. That way when winter comes, all of my plants will for the most part be protected. And I'm planning to do it even with my blueberry bushes and all of that too, because I just don't want any breakage on those particular ones, because I had a lot of damage to my plants this last year, one from cold and two from the heavy snow that we got. And so I just don't want to chance it this year. So I'll be bringing them up close to the house, maybe not right directly under the entire thing, but like leave openings so that we can get out into the yard, but have them like say like up along here where they can get snow on them, but they're not like up on the house, you know what I mean, like on the patio. We'll still be able to come onto the patio and enjoy the patio in the middle of winter if we really want to, but at the same time they're not I'll have plenty of room for all of my plants to be up close. That way, if it does snow, I don't have to walk out into the yard to clear the snow off of them if we do get snow again like we were getting. So I know that the snow that we got before didn't like come tumbling off our roofs, so I doubt we'll get that kind of snow. But yeah, I just figure that's probably the best all-around way to go about doing it. So yeah. And then my raspberries, I also moved these, if you can see this week. I moved all my raspberries up here. And I'll point out some things. Now, I decided to move this this frost fern or whatever. It's not an actual fern, and it's not actually moss. I can't remember exactly, but I got it as a gift from somebody at a Christmas party this last year, and it's not really necessarily my favorite plant. I decided to just pop it in the ground to see how it does outside, and we'll see if it survives the winter. We're doing an experiment here. If it doesn't, no big loss, because I don't have very many non-edible plants, but I do love house plants. So I have a nice wandering Jew plant that I got from a friend at church, and it's really cool because I love all colors. I tend to have a lot of purple stuff, which is kind of weird because I wouldn't say that purple is necessarily my favorite color, but I do love it. So my Wandering Jew has these really beautiful silver, green and silvery looking leaves, and on the underneath side it's got these really beautiful purple color and then a purple stem, and it's beautiful, and I'll show you here in a minute. But I found yesterday at a nursery near us I went to, and they had right next to a Wandering Jew that they had, which was mostly all purple. I like the contrast of mine better because it had more color variations than the one that's mostly all like purple. And I like the leaf contrast with mine better. I think it looks more beautiful. And the plant that I ended up getting that was sitting right next to them looks so much like it, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. Actually, let's get it now. So this one is called Moses in a Boat or Moses in a Cradle, and it looks pinky on the edges, and it's really pretty. So this is a non-edible house plant, and the underneath side has this beautiful purple on it. And then I went to Goodwill and I picked up a little pot that had the little liner in it, which is perfect. And it's just a little metal pot, and I just put a snack cup from the dollar store at the bottom to make it a little bit higher so that the plant's like up high. It works out perfect. So I'll put this back down over here. So I just got this, and it says that I need to keep it in a nice sunny area. And you can reroot like these side stems when they grow a little bit longer. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably end up rooting them and then selling off some of the babies at a later point. And then that'll kind of pay for the plant that I got. So I think I paid $3.99 for this plant, so about $4. So yeah, and then I sold my big wandering Jew that I got from my friend yesterday as well, and I sold that for $8. So technically I ended up being able to get myself another plant for almost for free. So that was really totally awesome. So, but I couldn't pass up because it was Moses in a cradle or Moses in a boat. There's a couple different names for it, and then it has another classification. It's like more formal name, and I can't remember what it is. So just go look up Moses in a boat or Moses in a cradle, and it'll pop up with these little cute plants. But it is also called, it's also called spiderwort. And when I looked at it, it kind of reminds me of a spider plant, which I don't know. I've never actually gotten a spider plant, but everybody in my family has grown spider plants before. One day I'll probably have one, but I don't have one yet. And I know there's got to be different variations of that one too, but this is a spiderwort. I think it's also in that same family category, but this one puts off the little pups off the side, which is really cool. So I just like it. I also have had some other purple with the fuzzy leaves, and I was like, I can't remember. I had one out in the garden a couple years ago when we first got here to Washington State, and I had one when I was in Colorado. And anyway, it was an indoor plant, and it also had green and purple on it. So I tend to be drawn to the purple foliage anyways, naturally, for indoor plants, which I don't know why, but I just am. So yeah. And like variegation. So my son is making a lot of noise in the background, and it's really hard for me to concentrate, but that's okay. He's playing with the water. So with the raspberries, we've got a lot of growth on this one right here, which I think is a black raspberry. And then this one right here, a lot of good growth on the one that is supposed to be a orange raspberry. And they both actually have buds on them this year. So we've got buds forming here, blossoms here. And then we've actually got a couple open blossoms right along here on this one. And these two raspberry plants were actually I traded some gooseberries for these. Now, they were supposed to both be an orange colored raspberry, and thornless. This one has a tiny bit of thorns at the base, and then as the plant gets taller, the thorns basically become non-existent. This one here is completely opposite. It has more of a reddish purple hue to the branches, and it tended to have more thorns towards the top, kind of, but these ones don't have a lot either. So, but the bottom parts do. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly what's going to be going on with these two plants, because the initial growth from last year looks significantly different from one another. One has the darker red purple branches, and the other one has more of a just a light wood color. So I think they're probably two different varieties, but they were right next to each other, and they were supposed to be the same thing. And because they were so young, they looked identical, so I grabbed them both. And then this one right here is the little tiny raspberry that I think might be a double gold, so I put it into here. It's doing good. That's about how big this plant right here. It's less than an inch tall. That is exactly how big my Cascade Delight was last year when I got it from Raintree. And as you can see, it got pretty tall. And I also topped it last year, and to keep it from getting too tall, because I have had problems with my raspberries, when they've gotten too tall. And so this year I decided to go ahead and have the growth be a little bit shorter on all my plants. And so that way when they grow up, they won't go past the top of the trellis. So I do need to get another few trellises here for my raspberries and blackberries and that sort of thing. These tomato cages are amazing for the raspberries, especially if you're growing in a container pot. So I highly recommend them. They really help contain the raspberry plants so that they're not like dripping over. You don't have to use a ton of stakes for all the different branches or whatnot. So it looks really good. And we have blossoms on the Cascade Delight, so I'm excited about being able to try some of those berries this year as well. And I can't wait to see what color these are going to be on the orange raspberry and the one that might be an orange raspberry, but I think is a black raspberry. We'll wait and see. But we do have buds, so we will be able to get to that point this year. And this is my Tulamine. It is doing amazing, growing by leaps and bounds. And we've got open blossoms on here too. Got some down here. And then over on this side, looking amazing, amazing, amazing. And if you guys have been here for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love the Tulamine. I mean, even look at the size of that leaf. This thing is bigger, almost bigger than my hand. I've got little hands though, by the way. They're only about 5 inches in length from my crease there on my wrist to the tip of my finger. So yeah, I don't have very big hands, but that leaf is huge, at least in my opinion. And I just love how it's looking. It looks like caterpillars are getting munching on some of the leaves too. They're enjoying it too. Look at this one too. They've been munching on some of my stuff. So here is how the black raspberry or white blackberry can't talk, you guys. This one stumps me every time. It's got a lot of new growth. I got these from Baker Creek Seed Company. This is the Snowbank blackberry, and it's white. I did see some white blackberries being sold at the local nursery. They were polar bear or something like that raspberries, and they were, I think, $12 for one plant, but they were a decent size. So these ones I got, it looks like I was supposed to get 4 plants. I did 2 orders, and the order had 2 plants per order, but this one had 2 in the one section. It might be connected to by a root at the bottom. Possibly it might be just 1 plant, but it looks like there's 5 possibly. So there was 1 tiny one, might be a bonus. But yeah, we got a lot of new growth up here. And then I trimmed off 3 or 4 limbs that were down towards the bottom that turned all yellow. So it's still getting acclimated to the climate here. And I decided to put it up here out of the full sun because I thought that maybe be stressing the plant too much with getting situated and that sort of thing. There's a bug going crazy over here. Okay, I got him. He was a Carl. We call them Carls, mosquito eaters. They're named Carl. All right. So here is the boysenberry. It's looking pretty darn amazing too. It looks like it's going to be, these look like leaf, but they are probably going to start making buds as well soon. So that's how it's looking. Boysenberries, I believe, are across. Oh, here's one. It looks like, yep, we got a bud right there. So I think boysenberries are a cross between blackberry and raspberry, but it takes after the blackberry side a little bit more than the raspberry side, I believe, because it comes off more like a blackberry and it doesn't have the hollow center when you pick it. Oh, here's another bud. So I've got 2 buds here at the top. So we'll be watching it and seeing. I'm probably not going to get a whole lot because I did trim it back a lot last year, but it looks really nice and bushy, so I'm excited about this. Here's what I believe is my blackberry pot right here. Could be Mediterranean blackberry, could be a native blackberry because I did collect some seeds from some native shrubs on a hiking trail that we went on, or it could be a Solomon berry. So one of those it could be. But there also were some cut leaf blackberries in there, so I know for sure there are some definite blackberries in there, which is also that traditional blackberry flavor that everybody loves so much is from the cut leaf blackberry bushes. So I do have one there. And I'm starting to think that this is actually a raspberry, because you guys, the leaf shape is completely different. But I thought these came out of the same pot as this, but I might be mistaken. You guys, it would be hilarious if this is actually my double gold. But yeah, it's got the light colored underneath leaves on the top part of the plant. As you go down, it's a little bit less light underneath, but the top part looks like that. So I'm not sure. We'll just keep an eye on it and see if it develops any you know, raspberries. But it looks like a raspberry to me. I was saying it was a blackberry, but I could be completely wrong, because these leaves don't look anything like these, and I thought that these came from this. But what if this is my double gold over in this pot that I saved a whole bunch? And these were all roots, you guys. This is all coming up from roots. So I had all these extra roots and I just stuffed them in the pot, and I thought that they were from these, but these leaves don't look the same. So that's why I'm thinking these ones are blackberries and these ones are raspberries, because boysenberries look more like, they look more like the raspberry leaves, kind of. But we'll just keep an eye. And the color looks more like that. So we'll just keep an eye on it, you guys, and I'll bring you along for the journey and we'll be watching it. It would be pretty cool if these ones developed some flowers, because they grew pretty darn quick this year. I do need to get a container about the same size of these to put this one in, and this one down here. I want them all to be in about this size of a container. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably take measurements when I go to the store, or I can see if the containers that my gooseberries are in are about this size. I'm not sure. I have OCD when it comes to things not matching in my garden, so I want all my berries to be in the same size, all same color, that sort of thing. So so if I can't get them all into the same color pot, I will live, but my OCD is going off the chart. And I also want the same color trellises, tomato cages for them. Can't talk. But yeah, so everything's looking good. One of the other reasons why I moved them up next to the house is because it is really warm this year, and the last 3 years that we've lived here, it hasn't been this warm this time of the year, generally speaking. At least I don't remember it being this warm this time of year. And we're yesterday it was 88 degrees here, and we're in May, and I guess that's not necessarily abnormal for May, but it just seems really warm to me. And so but maybe it's just because spring snuck up on me, because I was having so much fun in the winter making videos. So we'll just watch everything. I have a feeling it's gonna be a pretty warm summer. A lot of my pots were drying out really, really quick. So if you're growing container pots, you guys, make sure you're watering them. Make sure that you got good drainage, so when you do water, that things aren't just setting in water, and that the excess water can drain away. So I'm learning a lot of lessons this year, and moving all of these raspberry bushes get sunlight in the morning when the sun comes up, and then it gets it again in the late afternoon. So they get sun about, I'm wanting to say 3 hours in the morning and about 3 hours in the evening. So they get plenty of sunlight. Now, as far as this whole area here, I will be cleaning up these mess here with the twigs. I'm thinking what I might do is, I've got an extra in my recycle bin right here. I have an extra bin. I think I might just have my husband help me pull these apart and we'll use one for like just twigs for me to throw into, so we have kindling for either using with our makeshift fire pit, or if we ever lose electricity and we need to build like a little rocket stove to make dinner on or whatnot. So that is the idea. That's why I'm kind of saving the little twigs that I get from my plants when I'm gardening, because they make great kindling and you might as well put it to good use. So yeah. Oh, you guys check out the little birdie. It is taking a bath in the water there. This is the one that has babies. I don't know if I told you guys, out by the garden shed, I can't weed eat back there by the corner right there. Right there. I can't weed eat there because of this little stinker. She has a nest with babies on the ground there. And so I couldn't water. I had to move all my pots away from there and put in some empty pots around to keep her privacy that she's wanting. But she's been coming over here and bathing in the water and drinking the water here. And she's been coming up to the house and getting food by the house. So yeah, she's so pretty. And she's just loving her bath. Amazing, amazing. And she's gonna go back down in, and she doesn't seem to mind me so much. So I'm cleaning her beak. She's wanting to go back down in now. Now she's back in there again. She's so cute. Oh man. So yeah, so that's how everything's looking. Probably this week I'll have the boys finish picking up the yard. We got a lot of limbs and stuff from the cherry tree that they got branches from. They use them to fight with out in the yard, which is kind of fun. And then I need them to pick up the giant box that they've destroyed and move it. So yeah, I used some of the cardboard from that the other day when I was weeding, just something to put my knees on. And then yeah, so everything's looking really good in the garden. I didn't spend too much time yesterday out here, so yeah, that's why everything's looking the way it's looking. And then this morning I didn't get out until late this morning. It's almost noon now, and so everything's looking good. And now that my video is like a half hour long because I like to talk to you guys so much. Yeah, so that's how everything's looking. I got my recycle bin right here with my jugs for making pots with. I moved it out of the way where I'm not using this area so much, so that's out of the way. But yeah, I planted a whole bunch of the pumpkin seeds. I think it's the Cinderella seeds or Cinderella pumpkins all the way up to right here, and then I have a knucklehead and a ghost pumpkin, I think. Or it could be ghost pumpkins, knucklehead, and Cinderella pumpkin. I don't remember. We'll see as they develop. But yeah, so everything's looking good. Even my little apple trees are looking good over here. My chestnuts are looking pretty darn amazing. And then I'm planning to have my plant sale outside of my house here in like a week or so. I've got a bucket. I'm just gonna leave everything in the bucket. What I'm thinking about doing is when I have my plant sale out front, I will be offering these rooted willow branch trees for sale for like maybe $1 a piece. And basically they've got roots on them, so they'll just pick which one they want, and then they can take it home and root it into the ground. So I'll probably go to the store and grab like a cheap I'll just grab like a couple rolls of cheap paper towels and get those wet. So if somebody buys them, and maybe a whole bunch of bags or something, like the plastic grocery bags or whatever, like in the produce section, when somebody comes, they can just wrap it with some wet paper towel and then pop it into a bag or whatever. But I just figured I would offer them. I'm probably not going to sell all of them, and frankly, I really only wanted one. So I'll probably go through, pick out which one I want first, and then I'll probably put that one into a small container pot and let it grow. Probably will plant it into one of the little black pots that maybe my fig tree is in, or something like that. And so yeah, so everything is looking pretty darn good here. So that's what I'm thinking with these, because I just rooted them on the off chance, and they're all, for the most part, they're all growing. Did take a couple out that didn't root, so I'll be deciding here soon which one I'm going to keep for myself. And I'm probably not going to keep a very big one, probably keep a smaller one, because it will eventually get big. But anyways, that's pretty much it for the day. I've enjoyed talking to you the last 35 minutes. Have a wonderful day, you guys. Thanks for coming along. And comment, like, and subscribe, and click that bell button. And as always, you guys, have a wonderful day. And God bless. Bye.